my impression is that you've sort of dabbled in Tekken, but you've never really got into it until recently.
No, I've never touched Tekken.
Okay.
I have done the thing that every Street Fighter and 2D player has done, where you load up Tekken because your mates are playing it, you look at the move list, and you Alt F4. I did that for 10 years, basically, of just like, this is not for me. Like, it was just way too daunting. So I just never touched it, even though I was like surrounded by Tekken players at basically every moment of my life. I was just like, where do you even fucking start? So I always got it, like I always saw it, and I, you know, played around a little bit, but ultimately it just, the perceived barrier was way too high. And there's a reality of, if you're a 2D player going into 3D, you have to suffer a bit of an ego death.
Yeah.
Like,
and vice versa too, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's hard. That gets harder to do the older you get. When you've been playing for a little while, going, I'm going to be really bad at this game now for like a couple years. It's quite a lot to take on board.
Yeah, so I'm like, you know, what was your first couple of days like really getting to Tekken? I mean, was it just like constant losing and just...
No, I think the Tekken has the same thing as every other fighting game, where lower ranks actually do function a lot of the time. You know, we're like, my friend was learning Strive recently, and they were like a okay ST player back in the day, but stopped playing for, you know, a decade basically. And they're like, oh, I'll try pick up Strive. And they were having a great time because they're playing at the lower ranks, where it actually kind of functions as you're playing against people with your skill.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because Tekken's big enough. Tekken's big enough. That's the most important thing, for there to be actual meaningful competition at all levels. I mean, you know, you will get Smurfs, the occasional Smurf, but that's the great thing about an active game, right? In that there is going to be competition.
It's the huge difference between when when Virtua Fighter came out on PS4, I was like, I want to try this. And it was like, oh, okay, I'm playing against like veterans. And Tekken, I've kind of been writing this script on like it's kind of like a reaction video to Tekken. I'm kind of wording it because I've had such a good time, but I was kind of trying to figure out like why it's been such a functional experience, even though it's got such a perceived difficulty. And it was just this realization that difficulty is relative to who you're fighting, and that's kind of simply it.
Yeah.
And if you're playing against someone that's like doing the same string, you can learn how to beat that string pretty quickly. And, you know, if you kind of grew up with not that much training mode in the games you play, you have a bit of an aptitude for like, okay, I'll try punish it. Okay, I'll try duck it. Okay, like, you know, you just run through the motion and you pick up bit by bit. And just having a very simple game plan, because I'm playing Jack, so it's like, I'm just going to do down back one.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I'm just going to do down back one and occasionally do a mid. And that's my game plan, basically, at the moment.
Jack is a great character to start the game with, because he really forces you to learn fundamentals. He's a very fundamentals-focused character. And very simple, but very fundamentals-focused. Yeah. He will teach you
his offense was simple. That was the thing that was important to me. I didn't want to focus too heavily on my offensive game, because I don't know if Jack's the character to me, because I'm figuring out what avenue I want to try and excel in Tekken. I don't know whether it's like sidestep and movement and like hard combos, or whether it's just simply chipping away at health. Like, I don't know what character. I'm a very like function-based character picker. Like, I want to pick something that highlights what I enjoy in a game.
Right.
And so being able to like focus on defense a little bit more and just like systems, and not worry about like, oh, I need to do all these setups and all this sort of stuff. It's like, you know, there's a little bit of execution with his like just frame after the forward one.
The blue sparks.
Stuff like that. Yeah. And there's like little bits like that, but nothing that's I'm having to sit in training mode for. And I get to do that on the other end, which is defensively.
It's really important, actually, I think, to pick a character when you're starting off Tekken that doesn't give you too much of an initial executional hurdle. And this is the thing, because Mishimas are as popular as they are, and because they do demand good execution, And because that's sort of prized and, you know, it's sort of put out there, they're like, hey, it's all about Wavedash and electrics. So many Mishima players, new players when they start Mishimas, they just focus completely on their execution, and the rest of their game is completely behind, which is why, like, up to a certain rank, when you see a Mishima player, you're like, this will be an easy match, because their defense will be dog shit.
It's so funny. The amount of, like, I have an idea of what good execution in Tekken looks like, because I've just watched a bunch of it.
Yeah.
And there will be, like, I've been in the trenches for the last couple of months, you know, of, like, the lower ranks. And there will be some crazy Kazuya players just doing the hardest shit ever with amazing movement and all. And then you just, like, do a bunch of, like, down back ones, and they're like,
what do I do?
What do I do now? And it's so funny.
It really is. Like, it's kind of a joke, right? Like, I remember Phil told me, Dinosaur told me that mediocre Mishima players are just like, whenever you saw them, like, because, you know, when we played on in the arcades, we had these, like, cards, right? And they had your win percent rate, and you just knew that whenever, like, a mediocre Mishima player stepped up, it's like, okay, I'm gonna get a boosted win percent on this match. They're one of your easiest opponents, and it's a different story at higher levels, because, like, higher levels Mishimas have legitimately always been really strong characters. Like, the only game where Mishimas aren't, like, you know, upper mid at least, or one of them's top tier, usually Devil Jin, was Tekken 6. But yeah, there is a bit of a learning curve to them, definitely. And they can push you down the wrong kind of avenue as a new player, which is why whenever someone starts Tekken, I'm just like, hey, you might like the poster boy, the poster boy characters, but you probably shouldn't go for them right now. I wouldn't recommend it. And if you do, try not to focus on the flashy kind of wave dashing shit right now. Hey, thank you for watching, and a massive shout out to our patrons. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe really help the channel out. Cheers all, and have a good day.